Hello Ride-On people. I'm probably going to have to shoot this video in one or two, possibly even three parts, so bear with me if you're watching another part and the intro is the same because I've been a bit lazy and reused it. But we're back from Barber Motor Museum in Leeds, Alabama. It's the largest motorcycle museum in the world. They have about 1,500 bikes on display at any one time from over 200 manufacturers, and it's officially the largest display in the world according to the Guinness Book of Records, and they have something like 250,000 square feet of floor space to present the vehicles on, and it's spread out over 5 floors, so you definitely need half a day there minimum, and if you're a connoisseur, probably more like the whole day if you can get there to visit. But I'll stop my rambling and let you have a look at the bikes. This is only maybe 1/10 of the bikes that's currently on display, but it really is jaw-dropping, so hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. 1894, Hildebrand and Wolfmuller. Made in Germany, 2.5 horsepower, 1500cc displacement. The Hildebrand and Wolfmuller was the first mass-produced motorcycle. First time anyone had seen such a vehicle in countries such as Australia and China. The power unit was based on steam engine principles, but was powered by gasoline. The long connecting rods are attached to the rear wheel, which is actually the crankshaft, so final drive ratios can be changed by varying rear wheel diameter. The rubber bands are to assist starting. No kickstart or pedals, just a good old-fashioned push. 1905 Indian, 2 horsepower, approximately 130 pounds, top speed 30-35 miles per hour. The Indian was a leader in early motorcycle design, registering many patents on components that are still in use today. This 05 model was called a camelback due to the shape and location of the gas tank. These machines were extremely well constructed and often over-engineered. Colours available in 05 were Indian red, blue, black and green. These early Indians were really the first motorcycles to be mass-produced in large numbers. This Red Pierce motorcycle is interesting. It's probably from 1914. Has a longitudinal 4-cylinder engine and the suicide shift. 1915 Sears Dreadnought V Twin. Price in 1912, $235, a pricely sum. Dreadnought Twin was built for Sears by the Deluxe Motorcycle Company in Indianapolis, Indiana, powered by a Spake motor that was also built in that city. You could order the motorcycle straight out the catalogue and it would be delivered to your closest railroad station, ready for you to ride. The big attraction of purchasing from Sears was that you could pay for the bike in instalments. This machine was restored in the museum shop and finally assembled by technician Dennis McCarthy. 1916 Excelsior, 20 horsepower, 60 miles per hour. The acquisition of Excelsior by Schwinn of bicycle fame in 1911 led to the expanded development in terms of engineering, performance and style, competing head-to-head with Indian and Harley Davidson. The machine had many innovative features such as an automatic compression release operated by a Kickstarter and rod-operated controls instead of cables. Excelsiors were also very successful in speed events such as hill climbs. 1920 Mars Type A20, Germany, 12 horsepower, 56 miles per hour. The white Mars is legendary within German motorcycle circles. It even featured on a postage stamp in 1983. The motor, of unusually high capacity at that time, was made exclusively for Mars by Maybach. Unusually, the white Mars featured a box section frame constructed of welded and riveted steel sheets. It was expensive to build, and the economic downturn in the mid-20s ended production. This example is one of the few that are complete with speedometer, spare wheel and lights. 1922 Reading Standard, 12 horsepower, 1100cc, 3-speed. Reading Standard was a relatively minor manufacturer and only a handful of machines exist today. This machine was located in Mexico and restored in the museum. Reading Standard never built a racing version and therefore was not as popular as Harley-Davidson, Indian or Excelsior. Because of this they faded away in 1924. The paint colour is a unique mahogany dark brown. 1923, Scott Sprint Special. Alfred Angus Scott, a Yorkshireman, built the revolutionary Scott in 1908. Features such as water cooling, automatic oil injection and rotary inlet valves can be seen today in modern two-strokes. These motorcycles were so superior in performance that they were banned from certain racing events. This example was built to compete in vintage racing, combining parts from the Super Squirrel and the Flying Squirrel. Scott the innovator was responsible for nearly 60 separate motorcycle patents. 1925 Harley-Davidson JD 45-degree V-twin 4-stroke, 24 horsepower, 1200cc displacement, 3-speed gearbox, 650 pounds, 60 mph top speed. In the early years of the 20th century, America exported a great number of motorcycles to all parts of the world. This 1927 Harley went to Australia and attached to a box sidecar delivered cookies in Sydney, New South Wales. Refurbished in the 1990s, it was used for publicity purposes and the shelves in the delivery box are still stocked with biscuits. 1926 Royal Enfield. Made in Great Britain, single cylinder 2-stroke, 250cc, 35 mph. Typical 20s commuter machine, probably giving over 100 miles per gallon. These little 250s were very popular with low running costs and were easy to service. Pretty well constructed too. The large diameter external flywheel helps to smooth out the characteristic erratic running that two-strokes at low revs have. 1929 Majestic, made in France, magneto ignition, single and mild carbs, front and rear drums, 360 pounds of weight. The Majestic is a very rare motorcycle, being produced in very small numbers. The aim was to build a large, comfortable, stylish touring bike with good weather protection. The chassis is two side panels joined by bulkheads and the steering is by centre hub, automotive style, both unconventional at the time. Like most small manufacturers, Majestic used many different power units. This bike has a chase and co-motor. There was even a prototype with an American Cleveland 4-cylinder. Sir John Surtees, who was actually born in 1934 and very sadly passed away earlier this year. This man was a true legend. I'm very honoured to have met him personally. He's a very humble man and an incredible ambassador for our sport in terms of motorcycling. He's a 7-time world champion. In 1956 on the 500, in 58 on the 500 and 350, in 59 on the 500 and 350, in 1960 on the 500 and 350 MV Augustus. In 1960, after winning his 7th crown, John Surtees left motorcycling to conquer car racing, and in fact in 1964 he was the Formula 1 world champion in his Ferrari. He's the only man to have won both the Premiership class for motorcycling and the Premiership driving class for cars ever, and that makes his career quite unique. And he went on to run successful race teams and continue his work in Formula 1 throughout the 60s and 70s. A great loss to the world, and it's great to see the Barber Museum offer a large display in celebration of his life, and we miss him greatly. 1935 DKW SS250, 20 horsepower machine, 249 displacement, 75 mph, made in Germany. DKW were the largest manufacturer of motorcycles in the 1930s and built many innovative two-stroke power units. This machine is a production competition model that would have been used in road racing, hill climbs and endurance events. The motor has two small pistons, each with its own connecting rod, so giving asymmetrical port timing. At the front of the motor is a large piston operated by another pair of short rods that pumps the mixture into the crankcase, supercharging it. This machine is extremely rare, possibly the only one in existence as the factory was bombed in World War II. It is also one of the loudest exhausts of any motorcycle. 1937 BMW R17 Sribd. Made in Germany, 33 horsepower, 730cc, 85 mph solo speed. Built over a 2-year period, only 450 R17s were produced. This is a supersport model with 33 horsepower, a figure only surpassed by the R68 in 1972. There's a massive difference in time of some 45 years before that horsepower figure was beaten. The Sribd sidecar style, possibly on the Zeppelin airships, is a Nürburgring model. This is extremely rare machine, being supposedly one of only 4 remaining worldwide. 1937 Triumph Tiger 90, 362 pounds, 75 mph, 4-speed box. Triumph Sport singles were very popular with amateur sports riders, available in 250, 350 and 500cc capacities. The Tiger 70, 80 and 90s were used as daily transportation during the week and competing in all branches of sport at weekend. The military used modified 350cc versions in World War II. Post-war, the singles were discontinued due to the popularity of the new vertical twins. 1938 Croker, made in USA, air-cooled 45-degree V-twin 4-stroke, 60 horsepower, 495 pounds, approximately 110 mph top speed. Albert Crocker worked initially for the Aurora Automatic Machine Company, maker of the Thor motorcycles. He then embarked on a career with the Indian Company, finally locating in Los Angeles, California, as the distributor for this company. Crocker relinquished his association with the Indian to build speedway machines. He then embarked on designing and building a superbike, using his experience with the Indian brand. Hand-built to order, the Crocker was described as the Duesenberg of the American motorcycles. Able to cruise between 90 to 100 mph, the Crocker was phenomenal. Approximately 75 machines were built between 1936 and 1940, with about one half accounted for today. 1938 Zundap K800, built in Germany, 22 horsepower, 804cc, 70 mph top speed. The Zundap K800 is listed as one of the top 100 machines of the 20th century. It has innovative features such as a unique construction, horizontally opposed 4-cylinder motor with a shaft drive, and design that Honda adopted for the first Goldwings. The frame and the front forks are pressed steel. Many of these machines were used in World War II, often with a sidecar attached, and were the only 4-cylinder machines to be adopted by the German Armed Forces. 1940 Harley-Davidson 61 OHV, air-cooled 45-degree V-twin 4-stroke, 989cc, around 40 horsepower and 90 mph top speed. Harley-Davidson's introduction of the new overhead valve 61 cubic inch model gave them an advantage over their Indian rivals, who were still building machines with a side valve or flathead configuration. The new OHV promised increased power and speed. These motors became known as knuckleheads, and the rocker enclosure looked like a clenched fist. A very successful machine, they were produced from 1936 to 1947. 1940 Indian Junior Scout, air-cooled 42-degree V-twin 4-stroke, 18 horsepower, 70 mph, 465 pounds of weight. The Junior Scout was introduced in 1940, complete with the controversial fender skirts, the only year they were fitted to this model. Within 2 short years, the Junior Scout was in military drab paint, as the US Army required a motorcycle to escort convoys, and the Little Indian was found to be ideal. Converted to military specification, it was now the model 741. 1943 Harley-Davidson WLC, 3-speed, 540 pounds, 65 mph. Tough and versatile aptly describes military Harley-Davidson motorcycles. This WL was built for the Canadian National Defence and bears the designation WLC. 8,000 of these new models were built for our northern neighbours. 1946 Indian Chief, 40 horsepower, 3-speed, 550 pounds, 85 miles per hour. After World War II, the only Indian model in production was the Chief. DuPont became interested in selling off Indian, so there was no advantage in taking additional risks of continuing to build anything but the most popular models. The advantage that Indian had over rival Harley-Davidsons were the rear sprung frame and the skirted fenders. Indian riders were divided over the fenders, either loving or hating them. 1947 Sunbeam S7, manufactured in Great Britain, air-cooled vertical inline twin, 21 brake horsepower, 487cc, single overhead cam, chain driven, singular mile carb, front Sunbeam telescopic forks, rear plunger, front and rear drums, 430 pounds, 70 mile per hour top speed. 1950 JAP Speedway bike, a design that was very popular in the early 1950s and much copied. A very pretty bike and a very successful one in terms of racing. 1951 Vincent Black Shadow, 50 degree V-twin 4-stroke, 55 horsepower, 998cc, 2 mile type 6 carbs, 460 pounds and around 125 mile per hour, utilising front girder forks and rear cantilever frame. There's been more stories, folklore and exaggerations said about the legendary Black Shadow than any other motorcycle. The design was radical and the performance even more so, and the only modern machine to compete with it would be the Briton. The ability to cruise at 3-figure speeds and with a maximum often exceeding 125 mph put this motorcycle so far ahead of anything else available at that point in time. 1952 Ariel KH500 Twin, 26 horsepower, 499cc, 525 pounds, 85 mph. With the instant success of the Triumph vertical twin design, other manufacturers rushed to get their own versions into production. The Ariel Twin copied Triumph with identical bore and stroke. This motor weighed only 1 pound heavier than their 500 single, despite the use of cast iron for the cylinder and head. For 1953, the motor was redesigned with an all-alloy head and barrel. 1954 saw major changes, a new motor which was a BSA A10 disguised as an Ariel. 1952 FB Mondial 125 SS, made in Italy, 18 horsepower, 286 pounds, around 100 mph. Del Orto Carb GP carburetor with remote float bowl, twin overhead camshaft and bevel driven. The double overhead cam Mondial was the forerunner of higher RPM 4-strokes. Mondial won the World 125 Championship from 1949 to 1951 and the 125 and 250 classes in 57 before withdrawing from Grand Prix competition. 125 machines were extremely fast, often lapping racetracks faster than the 250 machines. Well, I hope you liked this preview of the motorcycles available at the Barber Motor Museum. Remember, this is probably less than 10% of the motorcycles that are on display, and I would urge you with all my heart to go and visit the museum and support it, and the money that you pay an entry fee will be going to local and national charities, and you'll have a thoroughly amazing day out at the what is pretty much unequivocally and incontestably the best motorcycle museum on the planet.